Welcome back to the No Mulligans podcast here in the tour shop at Franklin Bridge. And we are on video this time. So if you guys haven't checked out the YouTube site recently, go over and subscribe. It's No Mulligans podcast. And we're also on TikTok now. And we're really pushing stuff on TikTok right now. That's going to be over at No Mulligans pod for those of you who would want to check out our TikTok feed. We had one go pretty semi-viral recently.
41,000.
41,000 views, which I know isn't it's chump change for some, but it's good for us.
That was when we had less than 20 followers.
That's right.
So like 41,000, if you already have like 160,000 followers, is nothing.
That's right.
But if you've got
20,
you're freaking killing it, dude.
Yeah, man.
So that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
Like just the speed of TikTok and like,
yeah,
I'm doing the same type of long form or the short form content on the YouTube as well, and it's popping like 1,000+ views. Like it's it validates the point. Like people want to hear what we have to say, and we've talked about that. Like people really want to know what we have to say, and yeah. I mean,
hey,
what would you say the other day in the text about like what makes us unique?
Yeah, I mean, I think what makes us unique is I see a lot of people on YouTube or Instagram who are, they're golf enthusiasts, right? They either like are studying the game or they're like making fun playing videos online. But like, I think we have something really special because there's not a pair of golf content creators out there that are, number one, as accredited as you as a professional and as
articulate as you are,
and as articulate as I am on the amateur side. Exactly.
Right.
So it's like with that combination, we're really able to kind of like hone in on the amateur side and the pro stuff.
Well, and the way that you mentioned that in the text the other day, I thought was, as I thought about it more, I'm like, well, you have like your good guys and your foreplay, like you have guys. Just like it's like all amateurs. And then you get on like the other golf podcast side, which is like maybe all entertainment of like current events, that kind of thing. Or you have like your Butch Harmon family, like you have a whole lot of Harmon guys. Like
like the teaching channel.
It's pro to pro, like they interview pros and other teaching pros, and so like you get both. You can get both sides.
Yeah,
but you don't have the combo of 15 years of experience with a lot of awards, high-level players, and like just an amateur who picked up the game 4 years ago.
Yeah, and not just that, but like bragging on myself a little bit, like an amateur who went from having rarely ever played the game to breaking 80 within 18 months, 16 months.
Yeah.
So like because of that, I think it's been really cool to see what like if an amateur sticks around somebody like a pro or can actually learn in the right way or do what we say on the podcast, it's like, hey, the potential is unlimited for people who are listening.
I think it can be hard to, sure, you can listen to an amateur who's working on their game, but like to get both the amateur perspective like you have and to share those stories, like I think that's part of the neat part of you sharing your successes is like, this is how I got there.
Yeah.
But also not just hearing it from your viewpoint, how you got there, but like how I took you there.
Bingo.
Or how we went there together. And so I don't know, I think that's part of the fun of it, and we don't do a whole lot of current events, although the PGA Tour's changing the rules on some things right now, but like we don't do a whole lot of that. It's just kind of not who we are unless there's something big that we want to talk about. But
for sure. Yeah, and it's really nice too because I think when you go down the far side that we talked about with the teaching pros is there's a lot of like, it feels like there's a lot of swing thoughts, a lot of like swing tweaking here and there. And one thing that I also think we do really well is we try and go, we've got a few fundamental episodes here and there, but like we try and really work on the mind, like the headspace. Like we can't put our hands on you over the airwaves, right? But what we can do is give you something to think about next time you're out there on the range.
Yeah, and we do some little tips here and there, and I think you can change golf swings through teaching people how to hit shots. Elijah's learning how to do that right now, which is a lot of fun. It's like, hey, Elijah's like, well, he needs to do this and this with this motion. I'm like, yeah, but like, how do you take him there, right? Like, can you take them? I'm gonna bring this up. Can you take him there in a different way? Like, can you take him there through hitting a shot? And if you do, he's far more equipped and far less technical than he would be otherwise.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
If that makes sense. So, we do dive into that kind of thing. So, speaking of what we do, like, and with TikTok,
yeah,
and with YouTube, and we were looking at the views. We're so close to 50,000. Like, we're gonna get there too.
Talking about on the podcast, or yeah, we're at I think 45,000 right now.
Yeah. So it's like I'm looking at this going, and you showed me the other day. You're like, dude, this month, like breaking 80 and breaking 90 are still popping a high volume of views, and that was February and March of this year.
Yeah.
And then I went back and looked at the historical, and those combined is over 1,000.
Yeah,
which is huge.
It's pretty big for us.
So and that like resonates. So like that kind of made us kind of go back to the drawing board a little bit. And I've told people like we're revamping the podcast. Like first off was like let's do the easiest thing first, which is let's be regular, and let's introduce the whole team.
Yeah,
which is great. But then now it's like, what do the people want? Like they want those quick tips that they can go and apply right away. And like to see people comment on there like, dude, I'm using this one. It was the one about holding your finish.
Yeah.
Like
that was cool.
It's so simple. And you had one guy like you got the trolls right there that post the crap of like, oh yeah, like I got a buddy that doesn't hold his finish. Like, I will play him for money. Please let me play him for money. Like,
I love that we just have like a built-in fact checker. You're the built-in fact checker. It's
right?
Like, oh yeah, like do you see the PGA at the end of my name?
Right. Let's go play. Yeah. Or if he or she thinks she's good, I got plenty of people I can throw them up against that. Like, we'll have a balanced finish on every. Like, just like that basic fundamental, just solves so many problems. Like,
especially when you don't have a pro to like put their eyes on you while you're watching.
Right.
It's like you can solve a lot of things and not know what it solved just by holding your finish.
Right.
Right. You'll see it and improve.
Well, and some of the stuff we're about to pop onto TikTok, it'll probably already have come out by the time this goes out, but it's like the Swing Slower, Shoot Lower podcast.
Oh, yeah.
It's like, just slow down. Like, well, that's so hard. I'm like, if you could do those two things, like, which everybody can, like, you can slow down and hold a balanced finish. It's like, if the whole driving range did that, they would all get better. Like there's no world in which those make people worse. And
it's true.
And so it's just like, if you can't do those fundamentals, then what are we doing? That's like trying to build a house without a plan. Like you need an architect, you probably need a builder. Like that to me is like the first step of that kind of, and you need a budget. Like you have that, then you can build the house, but everybody wants to build the house without any of the basic foundational components that are necessary to do so.
So if you want to check out those are on our page, the Breaking 80
right.
and Breaking 90. But I think that's a good segue into what we're talking about today. A little bit more complex than just holding your finish.
I don't know where I'm going with this one, which is always kind of exciting to see if Jack can pull it out of me. We'll see.
It's going to be interesting if I can pull it out of you. And it's also a topic that I can contribute to a little bit, but can't contribute all that much because I haven't done it yet. And so the title for this podcast is going to be Breaking 70. A lot of people hear Breaking 70, man, and it's like, yeah, I'm never going to be able to do that.
And so they'll check out. Like, don't check out. Like, listen to this podcast because I think you're going to find that it's going to be...
That's a good disclaimer.
...simpler than it is.
For sure.
Because to kind of... like lead into elite players, right? Kind of piggybacking off the Swing Slower, hold your finish stuff. It's like if you take the best players in the world against some of the top amateurs in the world, like, and you layer them down to something as simple as hold your balance finish and, hit a wedge 75 yards, whatever it is. Like, they're going to be separated at the most basic level, not at the complex nuance of who's using their force plate a little bit more out of this foot, out of that foot, who has more technical, not like, that's not going to be where the separator is. Like the separator is going to be in the most basic stuff doing that well, like making 3-footers, like not leaving yourself in difficult spots to make those 3-footers. And like, it starts with the basic things, not with the sexy, cool stuff that everybody wants to learn. Like,
yeah, that's a great point. And I feel like a lot of people too, no matter what level you're at, as soon as you finish up on the 18th hole, you put your clubs away, you get in your car, and you start driving down the road, and you're like, man, I shot, let's just say I shot 85 today. Gosh, it could have been 80. Like if I just had those 5 shots back.
Yeah, which ones?
Which ones? And when you get down to the level that we're talking about, breaking 70, there's no margin for error. There's no room for leaving shots out on the course.
No.
If you shoot sub 70 one day, you had a pretty damn good day of golf.
Right.
And probably a day of golf that only 1%, if fewer, will ever experience on a golf course.
Right. Very, very few people ever shoot under 70.
So that's like the importance.
Tournament or non.
Exactly.
It's very, very few people ever do that.
Exactly. So that's the importance of like these tips that we're going to give you here. Like these are the things that are going to set you apart from others, and not the, oh my God, he's using X wedge. He's using the new SM10 like Titleist wedge.
Look how much he spins his wedges. Like, oh, I wish I could spin my wedges that much. Look how far he or she hits it. Like,
absolutely not.
In order to be so this is the first one. So for the adult male, I have to go back and look at the female number. It's not very high. But for an adult male to shoot under par, so to have a 0 or less handicap, the average driving distance is 259 yards. So like if you hit it, let's say north of 240, it's a definite possibility for you to shoot under par. Like it's definitely in the cards for you to do it, which is a lot of junior golfers. And so I think the number for females is like 220-ish, just not that far, 215, which can be long for females. But like it's to be able to shoot under par requires some basic levels of discipline in my book. And going on to the swing slower, shoot lower, you fundamentally have to have control of your speed. It's not how fast can I go, it's can I go the same fast every time? Like, can I control my speed? And so one of my favorite sayings is like, if you can't control your speed, you can't control your swing. You can't. It's not possible. It's not going to happen. Like, you're just not going to. Yeah. Because the club is moving away from you with north of a G of force, assuming you've got some level of clubhead speed. Like, that puppy's moving. If you're a 200-pound adult male or a 130, 150-pound female, like, that's 130 to 200 pounds minimum.
Do you remember when we were watching the World Series together and and the guy let go of his bat and like went into the dugout?
Yes.
Like rarely happens, but like that's what happens if you let go of the golf club.
Right. It's moving.
It's flying, man.
Dude, it is cooking.
Yeah.
So like if you don't have control over that, you're going to struggle. Like our winter program, so CTC, for those that know it, cracking the code, basically is a 4-month overhaul on people's motions, starting with the most basic thing. We're having them stand in a split stance position, like think like a somebody in the starting blocks, except not that far bent over, and they have to keep their arms straight to start, and it's just a little like 20-yard to 50-yard chip. Like it's not a big motion, and they have to hit 3 perfectly solid shots. Nobody does it in the first 3 weeks, not at all. Like they'll get 2 and then the next one's like close but not there. And it's because they don't have control over that speed. When you take away those pegs in the legs by them being in a normal stance and you basically stand them on a balance beam type thing, it's like, ooh, I'm wiggling. I'm like, dude, we're not moving with any pace here. Like it's no different than if you and I did a soft high five right now. That's how much force is moving. They don't control that. You think you're going to control it at 100 miles an hour or 80 miles an hour as a female? Like you're not. Like you think like, I hit that one good, but the next one's not because you don't have control over your speed.
That reminds me of the, I was doing a drill just out here before we started, and I think it's actually a really good one. I would probably include it in the breaking 70.
Mm-hmm. I have no idea what you're about to say.
Yeah, well, yeah. And so I was on the range. I just had time for 50 balls before we came in here, and so I was like, you know what? I'm taking 4 clubs. That's like a wedge, an 8-iron, a 7-iron, and a 5-iron, and I hit 5 balls each with them.
Okay.
And all I cared about is solidness of contact and if the ball went where I wanted it to. Hit it. If it was solid, I take the motion a little bit bigger. If I hit it and it's off, I take the motion a little bit smaller. every single time. So you're practicing ball striking, and then you're also practicing
you're
taking speed off a ball.
So this is one of the things we talk about. It's like what separates like good players from great players, and like you're on the journey to becoming a great player. But it's like they find ways to make themselves better and to create pressure. Like you inherently created pressure. Like just hitting balls on the driving range doesn't create any pressure whatsoever. And so like you've got to be able to add that incentive, consequence-based practice is what the PGA likes to call it. But it's like you created pressure on yourself in the form of a miniature video game.
Right.
Like,
literally.
hey, you do this, you advance to the next, boom, you didn't get past the like, whatever that checkpoint is, and like you go back.
And it was like the games that we did with Robbie 2 weeks ago too.
Yeah. The ones I got toasted on. But yeah, you create pressure in your practice. Like you just do. Like players that are breaking 70 find ways to take something that's monotonous and make it difficult. Ooh, I kind of like that.
Oh, whoa, that's really good.
Wait, what'd I say?
Great players find a way to take something monotonous and make it difficult.
Ooh, yeah. Ooh, I like that. I don't know what else to say. Just leave it right there. No, but they really do. Like,
well, yeah, and like
that one, like guys are hitting balls on the driving range. Let's say tour players or college level players that are trying to be really good. It's like they get really pissed if it's not exactly the same. Going back watching those old podcasts, like one's an accident, two's a pattern, three's a habit.
Yeah,
like it really is. I'm trying to get 3 in a row, like dead the same.
And
like,
I guess to translate this
create that
exactly, and you have to take it to the golf course. Let's say you're in a round where you're breaking 70, not just trying, you are breaking 70. There's no such thing as an out of bounds ball with a bad strike. Like, sorry, you just can't afford that.
Right.
You know?
No, you can't. You might be able to afford one, assuming you're making a bunch of birdies, but like fundamentally, people don't make that many birdies. The best players in the world make less than, it's like right around 4, give or take.
And we had this in a podcast previously where we said the difference between professionals and amateurs is not the amount of birdies they make, but bogey avoidance.
Right. How few over par holes they have.
That's right.
And they're gonna have some. It's just like just make bogeys. But yeah, I think that that creating that pressure is just inherent to people that are trying to be good. Like they create it everywhere, and it's done 1,000 different ways. It's like, all right, I'm putting down a yardstick, which is what we're doing in cracking the code right now. It's like putting down a yardstick. Like I got 10 in a row. Can I get 12? Can I get 15? Can I get 20? Ooh, 12, I feel really nervous. I finally got 20. It took me 2.5 months to get 20. Great. Yeah. Like, can I get 30? Can I get 40? Can I get fit? Like, it's just like it never stops. It gets harder and harder and harder and harder.
What would you say to somebody who, because I think when we inherently create pressure for ourselves, there's also a tendency to be really hard on ourselves as well.
Yeah, I think that's a different thing.
I think it could be too. I'm just calling for clarification here. Like, what is the difference between somebody who does it in a healthy way versus maybe not?
One's done out of fear. One's done out of hope. We've talked about that before.
Yeah,
like you can hate playing bad, and like the person that continues to get anxious and like get more frustrated to the point that they're struggling to get better. That person's fundamentally doing it from a position of fear. Like, I hate playing bad, but I'm not afraid of playing bad. Those are two totally different things. Because in order to play at a level that allows you to break 70, like, or break par, let's call it, you have to, like, let failure just be a thing.
Yeah, let it do its thing.
It just has to be a part of it. Like, it's you made 2 birdies and you triple the 5th or 6th hole, and you're like, God, well, there it goes today. Like, no, like that's not even it's just not a part of the conversation.
Yeah,
you like, also, oh my gosh, here it goes again. Now, that's a fear-based, and I'm not saying like that doesn't happen to the best players in the world, but like you have to learn to quickly shut that thought off. And like, no, I mean, you see this stuff online all the time. For those that follow sports, like you see players talk to themselves. They have this like conversation in their head before going, all right, you got this. You can do this. Blah, blah, blah. I got this. You've done this 1,000 times. Like, you can see the like wording in their mouth and like reading lips. Like, you know what they're saying. Like you were never fearful of failure.
Mm.
You may hate it, and you don't like it, but you're never like truly afraid of it.
Yeah, I would say you're never afraid of it, and I would also say that good players in any discipline, and I'm even talking about life as well, like those good players are always looking for the next opportunity, maybe not necessarily.
Oh,
they're looking for the next opportunity, not the next failure, if you will. Like
throwback to John Whithouse on the podcast in 2022.
Out on the back patio. We did the Zoom on the TVs on the back patio.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Associate women's head coach at Duke University, and my head coach at Ohio Wesleyan. This was like the turning point for me, right? Was great players learn to embrace the opportunity that bad shots present.
Nice.
Like hitting a bad shot is an opportunity. Like you don't remember Tiger and Arnie and Phil and Xander, and you don't remember them for their basic boring golf. You remember them for the like heroic shots, the making the putt that was too far away from the hole, the remember the Tiger flubbed chip that goes like 10 feet, 8 feet, 6 feet, whatever, and then he holes the next one. Like that bad shot created an opportunity for you to showcase what else you can do.
I mean, Phil's a great example. I mean, he doesn't show off his wedges on just hitting the fairway every time,
right?
You know, and Bubba too. I'm thinking out of the pine straw at the Masters, right? I'm thinking
Jordan Spieth on the wrong side of a
that's
hole.
right.
Who else?
Tiger's windmill cut.
Out of the bunker.
Out of the bunker.
Lands way over there and spins. Like that was all those shots are from a bad place.
Yeah.
Like that's it. Like it's Xander Schauffele, like lose, win, right?
Yeah.
That's a culmination of failure, not one isolated one. Like you don't remember him because of how easy it was for him to get there.
That's right.
And even Scotty, it's like, can he tie Tiger's record? Like he doesn't make a mistake, but he's not putting well. He's not making putts, and then he like makes these clutch putts coming in. You're going, oh, it's the Tour Championship this year wasn't memorable if it weren't for him shanking it out of the bunker and like having gone like 3 bogeys in a row to put Colin right next to him, and then he just throws the dagger in and just doesn't miss on a long par 3. Like that's, by the way, that green is small. That shot he hit in there was phenomenal. So like, they don't see failure as a hindrance to success. It's truly a part of it. It's an opportunity. It's a building block. It's a brick on the wall that builds the house. Like it's not a sledgehammer against the wall that tears it down. It's the mindset that's the sledgehammer against the wall.
That's right. So now I've got a question for you here.
Yep.
You said I had to pull it out of you today.
Yeah, because I don't know where to go.
If let's say you're a video game character right now, and you're at max level, right? You right now, that's you at max level, and you got stripped all the way down to level 1. What is the first thing you would do to get you back to breaking 70?
Ooh. First thing?
First thing?
I have to pick?
First thing, yeah. You can give me multiple things, but you got to give me one thing first.
The hard part is I'm trying not to answer it for my own game, which is because that may not be the same. Like, what's the foundation underneath my thing? I think the first one is get control of your speed and your strike.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, you got to get those two things. Like that covers every part of the game. Like that's what I was trying to sort through in my head of like, I initially want to go to like a ball striking component because I'm already good at that.
Sure.
I want to go to a strategy component, but I'm already good at that. Like, so I'm wanting to go to those things that I'm good at, not the things that I'm bad at. So the areas that I've struggled in my game is, sorry, I said that backwards, but like my full swing is not my strength. So like, I want to go like, I'm going to work on my thing that I'm weak at. Like, nah, I'm noticing as I'm practicing, like when I'm hitting it really good, like my speed's, I'm way in more control of my speed on my full shots. And for short game, it's getting the strike good. And if I'm going to get control of my distance, I've got to get the strike good.
Dude, the Riptide game, or what did we play with Robbie, the where we had to save him from drowning? I think it was Riptide. Or
Riptide.
something around that.
Yep.
Where we had to hit wedges. There's 10 cones starting from 30 yards and going all the way back to whatever it was, 100 or something like that. And if you didn't hit it within 3 yards,
he started in the middle of the cone.
Yeah, he started in the middle. If you didn't hit it next to him within 2 or 3 yards, he moved back. But if you hit it within 2 or 3 yards, then he moves forward.
A cone.
Exactly.
And you're just hitting right at him.
Yeah, exactly. And I didn't realize. I thought my wedge game was pretty decent this year, but clearly it's not.
Dude,
like after playing those games, man,
that.
like you think about taking advantage of all these opportunities. And for people who are out there playing and maybe breaking 90, breaking 80, you see some pins that you're just like, oh, I want to go right at it. And the difference between you and a tour player is that a tour player is going to put that to 8 feet every single time. And meanwhile,
on those short ones,
and meanwhile we're just like struggling to get it on the green, right? So it's like,
and it was for both of us.
But that precision, man, is so fine,
Right? And if you think about those things, neither of us struck them well. Erica passed on their second attempt at it. It was like she just burned right through it right out of the gate.
She just got pissed off at it after failing the first one. She's like, you know what,
which is the point, right?
Exactly,
like the failure motivated the change.
Exactly.
And so like people think the failure is bad. Like, dude, when did that? Sorry, this is a sidetrack, but like, let me answer my question first. Like the thing that was different in that is we didn't control our speed or our strike.
That's right.
And so then Erica gets it together in the second one. We didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Like. We did a little bit better maybe, but like she got control of her speed and her strike and burned right on through it. And you're just going, like the failure motivated the change. And like somewhere along the road, when did this happen? Like, is it because we have such an ease in our society as a general rule? I know people have hardship and like not negating that.
I think it's easier to see success. Like if you go on social media, you get to see these tour players on TV. Like
you don't see the grind.
You don't see the grind, but you also assume it's like, oh, if these people can do it, like what's from stopping me? Then you go and do it. You're like, oh, this is hard, and then you quit. It's
like, gosh, yeah.
So it's
so
like,
true.
But I'm serious. I think that like even back before like modern media existed, it's like, hey, like we got to make it out. We got to work hard to make it out. You don't see the success. It's like if you want to go play in college, you got to really work your butt off, right? So It's like I think it's grinding to make it out. That was what it used to be, and now it's like you see success happen and you think that you can just go do it.
Well, most everything that's on social is a highlight reel.
Right.
It's like even the stuff with like, I love the Dude Perfect stuff.
Right.
But like what I want them to do is like do a time lapse. How long did it actually take y'all to finish that?
Yeah, they've done it they're like, we've been here for like I mean, I watched the behind the scenes of theirs, and they were doing they were throwing a basketball from like the Space Needle, like all down.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, like we had to call it after day one because we just didn't hit it. It's like a whole day.
You shut down the park for a whole day so that you guys could toss a ball off of the top of and so what you see is like these, everybody's super excited. You're like, yeah, I get that it's super exciting for a hit that's going to generate you a bajillion followers. But it's like, that's like stupid. Like how long it takes you to do anything. And that's just a game of probability by and large.
Quick side tangent real quick. There's a guy on TikTok. His name's Lethal Shooter. And it's kind of what it sounds like. But he's done these things recently where he tosses a gummy bear into a water bottle, like a necked water bottle that has like an opening just like that, and he shoots it one time. It's one take. You can see it in the camera unless he has crazy editing, which could be possible. But he does it one time, he misses it, and he goes, I understand it now. And then he tosses the next one and he sinks it every single time. And you're like, how do you do that, man?
You recorded this how many times before it actually worked?
Yeah.
No, I think there's that just general, like, I think it's cultural. Like we've gotten softer. We try to, we don't want our loved ones to suffer, our kids, our friends, whatever, but like suffering is a requirement. And so I don't know what happened there.
Yeah,
for
some
that
would
to
say
shift.
it's a requirement for entry too.
Ooh, failure is a requirement for entry. I like that.
Something along the lines of that.
Yeah. So I would start with speed and strike.
Next thing I want to talk about too is like I want to take it to, like, for example, when we got to go play with Austin and Micah. This was probably like last year, 2 years
Last
ago.
summer.
With this, yeah. But the round where Austin tied the course record.
Oh yeah, that would have been 2 years ago. I
Yeah,
think.
and there's one thing I really want to like harp on there. It's because like you see this guy and you're like, this guy doesn't look like a guy that's going to go out and shoot the course record.
In fact, Micah was playing better than him on the front nine.
That's
Scored
right, but
lower
like
than
take
him.
me through that round from your viewpoint watching Austin, because he played with such a demeanor that I've never seen anybody else play with. Like I see it only in Austin and Micah, at least the ones that I'm closest with.
So I'll say this for a guy like Austin is, in order to shoot under par, you have to never believe that you're not going to do it. Did I say that right? Yeah.
Yes, that's huge.
You have to never believe that you're not going to do it. Like, I'm going to achieve this. I remember telling him on the putting green at Timberline Golf Club when I first met him, and his lowest was like 68 at that time, but his scoring average was 76. I was like, there's something I recognized in him. I'm going, we're going to shoot 59 one day. And I didn't intend to say it loud enough for his teammates to hear it that were on the other half of the putting green, but they gave him crap for that for years. And then after he left there, finishes up at Arkansas Tech, he shot 58 that summer. And he calls me. He's like, yeah, remember that time you told me you could shoot 59? I'm going to shove it in their faces. I shot 58. Like, you know, like.
But that's the kind of player he is, man. It's like, not only am I going to do it, but I'm going to do it one more just so I can tell you that I did that.
Yeah,
Like,
and that was something special. I remember when he shot 60 with a bogey.
jeez, man.
And he shot, actually, okay, this is crazy. I think he shot the 58 with a hazard ball.
But you're right. His demeanor never shows you that he's questioning, like, am I going to do this?
No.
Am I not? Like, he's just going to go out there and play golf, and it's going to be a crazy good number when you come in.
Right, he shot like 2 under on the front, and then shot.
And what did he shoot that day? What was it, 63?
6 under, yeah. He shot 29 on the second nine.
So I think what we're trying to get to around all this is like, there's a certain belief that good players have in themselves, and this is something that self-admittedly, like, I'm trying to find right now.
You're going to shoot under par. Like, I'm going to do it. Now, that requires an action plan that follows that, right? Like, if you can sit there and, you know, say you're going to do something, but if you don't, this is why I don't think people are afraid of failure. I don't. They know they're not prepared, and they're afraid the thing they've been telling everybody that they're going to do. This is why I'm like, dude, shut up about your goals. Keep them to yourself. Like, only keep them within that confines of that little group that's going to celebrate you when you're bad and pick you up when you're down. Everybody else, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So, like, it's where was I going with that? I have no idea. I just totally lost my train of thought. I'll let you pick it up from there.
No, you were just talking about those people who are like, you know, oh, like I played so bad today or whatever. It's like they're on the complete opposite spectrum as somebody who's going to go out there and break 70. Like, the person who's going to go out there and break 70 is not going to be the one on the putting green before the round that's like, hey, bro, I'm going to break 70 today.
Right.
You know, unless they're so confident in the fact that they're going to do it that they actually do.
Right.
But it's easier to tell the fakers from the not when it actually comes down to it.
Yeah. You got people trying to flex and bow up, and they might do it once in a while. Like, that's fine. But, like, you have to believe that you're going to do it. That goes for every level. Like, I'm going to break 80. Like, Padraig Harrington getting laughed at. Like, everybody can become a single-digit handicapper. It is really, when you put the pieces together, it's not all that complicated for somebody to be able to break 80 basically to be a single-digit handicap. Like,
dude, Bernhard Langer shot like 68 the other day.
He's so old.
He's so old, man. He won the Champions Tour event that he entered in, but he shot his age, one of them too.
So he was a far more successful senior tour player than he was a PGA Tour player. He's playing against the same guys. That's a guy who never believed that he was never not going to do it. Now, it took him longer.
It probably took him feeling like, oh crap, I'm not going to play like high level golf ever again, and like he probably got a second lease on life.
Like, okay, I'm time to get it up.
But notice, for people listening at home, notice how that shift, or at least the assumed shift that we're saying here,
yeah,
is based on something that's between his two ears, not the entire body at play, right? It's like
Right.
if he just had that mindset back when he was playing on tour, it's like why couldn't he have been
Right.
as good as he was? Now, granted, there was a guy named Tiger Woods towards the end of his career.
Right, but like
But still.
even Tiger didn't win every golf tournament.
No.
Like it's just this like belief that you're never not gonna do it. I know it's redundant to say it again, but like I'm going to achieve the thing I've set out to achieve. This is, you hear Elon Musk talk about this, Arnold Schwarzenegger talk about it. Like
Hey.
there's not a plan B.
No.
I'm going to shoot X. I'm going to achieve blank. I'm going to do whatever.
Let me put this on you here then. So kind of relating this to what's going on right now in the golf space. Rory just won his 6th Road to Dubai that event is. He's won it 6 times. And dude, I was feeling a little spiteful like looking at that post. I said, "Great, now go win a Masters." Like, but same thing, man. Like
Right.
same thing. It's like what are we doing here? You know, it's like he's so good. He's the best driver of the golf ball on planet Earth. Like he's this, he's that. He's got all these accolades, all this money. It's like, what is it? It's like there's got to be something in this Breaking 70 podcast that is applicable to Rory McIlroy in that way too.
Well, I'll say this. So keep in mind too that not every golf course is suit for every.
No.
So like I genuinely believe like we put majors as the pinnacle, but there are some tournaments that guys never win.
Yeah.
They'll win a big tournament. Like, dude, why can't you win the Sanderson Farms? Like, why can't you go win TBC Craig Ranch? Like, it's Brooks Koepka. Like, oh, look at me, I won all these majors. Like, ugh, right? Like, great, like, freaking awesome. That's incredible. But like, dude, why don't you go win TBC Craig Ranch? They win at 28 under par. Like, you mean you can't shoot 28? Oh, you can only shoot 10 or 12. Oh, okay, I got you, man. Like, cool. You can play the hard ones good, but you can't play the easy ones worth crap.
Sure.
Like that's. But to my point is like there's some golf courses that don't suit the style of the play. Remember that the player of the game is the offensive player 100% of the time. That defense sometimes is a terrible matchup.
But let me push back on you.
Mm-hmm. I'm waiting for this.
How many T5s or better has he had in the Masters? It's like the difference at that point is not about the game. The difference at that point is who's got the cojones to bring it in.
So that's that internal pressure of like, can I do it? Mm-hmm. Like it's I'm expected to do it. And so we're into the like pleasing other people, and you can't do it for that. You do that, you're toast. Like, and
so I think that's my question is like, do you think that is just like, do you think this tournament has such a chokehold on Rory because he feels so much outside pressure in that sense?
I don't know. I can't speak for him.
I know. It's so tough.
But I would generally say he's. So there was a moment when he won the Players' Championship. So speaking to Rory, and they asked him about his new mental stuff he's been doing after he won it, blah, 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 blah. And it was a late night interview. I've tried to find it 100 times. And he said... He's like, I just finally realized, like, the people that love me are still going to love me, and the people that don't, it just doesn't matter. Like, regardless of whether I shoot 64 and win the golf tournament or shoot 82 and miss the cut, the people that love me are still going to love me, and that's really what it's about at the end of the day. And I remember looking at Hank, I was like, and a couple of our juniors when I was in Birmingham, I said, look out. He's about to go on a tear. He went and won like 3 tournaments, won the tour championship. Like that season, like he had that shift, and so like that's not a mental trick. That's a total like identity shift.
Yeah, belief.
Like if you're somebody who struggles to see the positive in stuff, like you got to do some deep digging to be like, well, why? Like. Maybe you're not seeing the positive because you're not doing the work, and maybe you're not actually willing to do the work that's going to take to get you there. And that work may mean you don't have enough money to be able to actually achieve the thing you want to achieve. Like, well, I don't have my finances taken care of. I don't have my family taken care of. Like, there are things that put pressures on the thing you want to achieve, and it takes a lot to give those things up. Success. Oh, okay, here. So breaking 70. Here's another tip. is going to not require balance. There's no, well, you got to have balance. Nobody who's been successful, like highly successful, is balanced. You got to be a little bit crazy to be able to break 70. The volume of work you have to put in is super high. And I'm not just talking about hitting balls on the driving range. I'm not just talking about playing a lot of rounds. I'm talking about putting yourself under pressure, under stress, day in, day out, over and over and over and over and over and over again. And going out and getting your brains beat in, playing for a bag of chips and a hot dog at the end and getting beat. Like, I think the hours component is a part that's ignored. How many hours is it going to take? I don't know. It's different for everybody. So we got, what do we have for breaking 70? We got control your speed and your strike.
Making monotonous practice difficult.
Yep. To me, those are the two big things. Like speed and strike. Like, if you don't have that, what do you have?
Yeah. It's hard for us, for those of you listening too, that are like, well, Jack and Scott are just talking about like mindset here. It's like, I would argue that's probably the biggest thing that you need to break 70 at the end of the day, right? Because it's like, I think technique gets you all the way down to that, gets you down to par, right? Everything after that, far less technique and a lot more between the ears.
Well, so here's the other tip about strike. Like, this is why I say speed and strike. Speed controls spin, spin controls trajectory and distance, as well as a little bit of direction, but mostly controls those two things. And then the strike piece, if you don't hit it in the center of the club face, you can't effectively evaluate what the golf ball did.
Yeah.
Because a slight toe strike can produce draw spin with an open club face.
Yeah.
A slight heel strike can do the opposite. But a more severe toe strike can create a ball that kind of out to the right and curves right. So then you start trying to fix something that's not actually real. And now you've created another problem. You actually start spiraling the other direction.
Yeah.
And so the reason why, if you're trying to break 70, the first thing you need to do, and guess what? It's the first thing you need to do when you're trying to break 100, is control the speed and control the strike. We're doing that with Braden right now. It's like, Braden, your golf swing is money. You hit it really good, but I put you under stress. Like, you haven't made monotonous practice stressful, so there's one.
Yeah.
And two is, hey, Braden, I want you to hit this 7-iron 172 yards. Well, 180. You're 8 yards off. That's 24 feet. I ain't going to cut it. Not every time. You can have that once in a while, but like that's your norm. Like, I need you, when you want 172, I want 172. But you can't do that if your speed is not under control and your strike's not under control.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm thinking about back on this season, as now it's getting to be winter golf, and I'm reflecting on this past season, and I think that the thing that was really keeping me from breaking to that next level was that right there.
It is.
Because it's like,
it's mine.
Sure.
It's the same thing.
Sure. But it's like, yeah, what's the difference? Like, people are like, well, how far does your 9-iron go? Oh, you need to hit a 9 here. It's like, well, no, you can hit a soft 8 with a lower trajectory. You could hit a high 9. You could hit a high 7, right? You could, like,
a bunch of options.
I hate the people who are like, oh, it's probably an 8-iron. Well, it's like, no, it's like, the numbers on the club, yeah, they're indicative of what the club is, but it's more about the trajectory of the ball flight that you really want.
Everybody goes to like, this, it's just this club here. I'm like, it's just the.
Or I always hit this club on this tee or something.
Yeah, like no, you don't always do anything. I will say, like, to give kind of another breaking 70 tip is the ability to properly read the situation that you're in. So think about that a step further, right? Is like, today's an easy example here at the bridge because we're sustained 12 to 15 mile an hour winds.
Well, don't give away the next podcast topic.
I know we're going to get to that, but like, that's an element of that. It's all right. This is difficult. Well, it's so windy. It's such a hard day. It's like, well, a couple of the downwind holes.
It's a great day.
a couple of the downwind holes are actually going to help you. You're going to hit it farther. The pin's in the back, so the ball's going to release. You don't have to take it all the way back to the flag. You don't even have to take on any risk at all.
Takes off some spin.
Downwind keeps the side spin from getting too far out of control. So, like, it's not all hard. Some of it's easier. Like, how hard is this putt? How hard is this chip actually? How hard is this approach shot to a pin that looks like it's in the middle of the green? Oh, that's easy. Whoops, you missed something. Right? Like, oh, you know, I'm 3 under par through... Oh, you just say I'm 2 under par through 7. I'm playing great. It's like, actually your round's about to fall apart and you don't know it because there's patterns of behavior that you're making. So like that ability to properly assess where you actually are is a thing. How do you do that? You need some guidance on that one.
That's really good.
And you need some really good players around you, because the level that strategy goes there, it goes from being like, oh, let's play it to the middle of the green. Let's, hit as many, keep it in play. Let's just play smart. It's like, nah, strategy goes from being this big to bigger than this wall behind us.
No, yeah.
It gets really big, really fast.
Wow, yeah.
And to be able to break 70, you've got to be able to have a handle on it, especially if you're going to do it at multiple golf courses, not just the golf course you play 3 times a week for the last 10 years.
Yeah, that's right. And again, that's something that I'm trying to figure out right now to do as well, especially when I go to different places aside from Franklin Bridge. And I think about when we played with Austin, I'm going to refer back to that again, where it's like, this is not Austin's home course. He comes up here and plays it once in a blue moon, right? Whenever he's up here.
He had played it. That was the first time he played it under the change in the layout. And he'd only played it one other time prior, 6 months before that.
My point exactly. And so for the people who can't even do it on their own home golf course that they see a bunch of the time, it's like, well, how are you going to implement that strategy component when you go play somewhere else?
Because you're on autopilot out here playing good golf.
Yeah.
I mean, you'll have guys that are a 3.8 out here and they go play somewhere else that's even the relative same level of difficulty, not very hard, fairly open, and they'll shoot even worse.
Yeah.
They'll play to like an 8 or 9 handicap. Like, I just can't believe I play this bad. Like, I never play this bad at home. It's like, because it's at home. Mm-hmm. And it's not like a basketball court that's uniform or a football court that's uniform in size. Like,
yeah, that's right.
It's entirely different.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, I was actually just spent 4 hours with a college coach on Monday over the phone for 2, and then consulting with the team afterward, just kind of giving them some guidance on Golf Decoded. And one of the things I mentioned to her in the morning and then mentioned to the team in the afternoon was this. I said, one of the big things that Golf Decoded does is that it helps you recognize the situation you are actually in. At all points in time on any individual shot and the round trending as a whole.
Yeah.
So you can fully identify what's actually going on behind the scenes. No other system's able to do that. And I said, here's what happens. I said, I find that most players who struggle to get to that under par mark, which all these kids are, they're all in the 70s, is they recognize hard shots as easy and easy shots as hard. They have it backwards. Like, you have to be able to recognize what is the true level of difficulty of the situation I'm in, then make a decision from there that gives you options in terms of if it doesn't turn out the way you want. Because guess what? Most of the time, it's not going to turn out the way you want. It's going to be some variation of said thing. And so, like, that to me is the essence of the strategy piece that takes you the rest of the way. If you control your speed and your strike, and you control being able to recognize an easy shot is easy and a hard shot is hard, then you can maneuver. Because if the strike's always good and your speed's always good, you can then properly identify what's happening to the golf ball and fix it. If you're recognizing easy shots as easy and hard shots as hard, then you're properly assessing your situation. If you make a decision there, it doesn't work out very good, you can understand exactly why. But if you pull off a good shot on a easy situation that you thought was hard, you'll recognize another similar situation later on. And you're like, oh, I can hit this one because it looks easy, but it's actually hard.
Yeah.
It's flipped.
Yeah, that's so interesting because I'm thinking about that. And I'm like, what separates the good players from the mediocre players is going to be like, those people are playing to avoid disaster, not hit it close every time and make birdie putts every
Correct.
time.
They don't. They hit it far away from the hole. Like, I saw the playoff one. It wasn't a playoff. Tiger had to make birdie on the last at, I don't know, one of the MasterCard tournaments back in the day, and hits driver down the right center, and there's a pin back right over water. He hits it to like 25 feet from the flag. Nowhere close to the flag. Lands long left of the flag and spins towards the hole a little bit, but he's still got 25 feet. He did not take on that flag. Even in a must-make birdie situation. Like, I have to make birdie. He realized I didn't have to hit it to 8 feet to make birdie. I can make birdie from anywhere around this green if I'm dry. I'm going to hit it to the fat part of the green, 24 feet, goes dead center of the cup, and everybody goes nuts. Because it's an unlikely putt to make, but it was the best place for him to place it, and he was totally in control of the round. Whereas if you try to fire it close and it gets close and like is like, ooh, almost went in the water, when you get up there, you feel relieved, not empowered. And that's a situation you want to avoid. Like, there are rounds that players, like, if you really think about your rounds that you're like, man, I can't believe, I don't know, like, it just fell apart on the back nine. Like, well, why? I don't know. It just fell apart on the back nine. Ask a better question. We talked about this. Ask a better question. What's the better question? Like, when did you feel like things were a little on edge? Well, I kind of felt like the whole front nine, it could have break at any time. Well, there might be a reason for that because you were getting lucky, getting some good breaks, pulling off shots that you shouldn't actually pull off. You're hitting good shots from bad places, and next thing you know, those decisions are reinforced and they finally burn you on the back. It's been coming. You felt it coming. But, like, flip side could be true. Like, guys that shoot 2 over on the back, shoot 3 under, 2 over on the front, 3 under on the back. Like, what happened on the back? Well, I was fine. Like, I know it's 2 over, but I'm in control of what's going on. That's the easy shots is easy and hard shots is hard.
Anything else you want to add? It's hard on this one because it really is between the ears, man. Like,
and it's individual per player.
For sure.
And there's a lot of strategy work that has to be done, a lot of reps. But the fundamentals, like, fundamentals gets confused. I mean, we should talk about that a little bit on the next one, but, like, what are the fundamentals of the golf swing? Ooh, we should do that instead. Sorry, I changed my mind. What we're doing next? Like, because, like you're asking the question, what do you do if you're starting from nothing? You're at the championship of the video game. You go all the way back to level 1. Where do you start? Like, that's the question is, what are the truest fundamentals of the game of golf? Control your speed, control your strike.
I love it.
And figure out how to get the ball in the hole.
We'll pay attention to the next podcast where we're going to talk about those fundamentals because I think this is actually really good.
And how to be consistent.
Because we did 90, we did 80, we just did 70, and now we're pretty much doing like, so you just started golf. Where are you?
Right.
Where are you going?
Where are you? Yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, thank you guys so much for listening to this one. As we talked about in the beginning, the YouTube is up right now. If you guys have been watching on YouTube, thanks so much for watching on YouTube. You got to see us here in the tour shop. We're literally sitting back here where Braden does all of the re-grippings that you guys send over to him.
Just right underneath the camera.
Literally right underneath the camera. So that's there. And then we also have our TikTok account. That's No Mulligans Pod. And then if you go over to our Instagram page, which is also No Mulligans Pod, we're still doing our head cover giveaway through
the end of the year
for a year's worth of free lessons from Mr. Scott Hassey.
I've got to order a few more head covers. I didn't do the full run at first because I wasn't sure we were going to push that many, but
we're pushing them.
We've moved, I think, 15 head covers.
That's awesome, man. So thanks so much for those of you guys who are supporting the podcast and also wanting to get better at your game as well. And then I don't think we can, and we won't say it on this one, but that what we just got too, what FBPI just won as well, or the Bridge.
Yeah, I can't say it yet. We won a pretty big award. That's it's a national level award, and thankful for the whole team for that. So
you guys who are listening to this podcast, just know that you're getting the right information fed to you. So, and that's what we aim to do here on the pod. So, from Jack and Scott here inside the tour shop here at Franklin Bridge, we'll see you on the next one very soon. Peace.